All right, today we're cracking open a really fascinating case file from the world of international trade. We are diving into the very strange, very cool case of the ribbon reading machine.
And it all really comes down to this one central question. What happens when a piece of high-tech, almost spy-level equipment comes up against the super rigid, really specific world of international customs law? Let's get into it.
So, the star of our show, the focus of our whole investigation, is this thing, the RAW-1 Ribbon Analysis Workstation. I mean, the name alone sounds like it's straight out of a Cold War thriller, doesn't it? So, what does this thing actually do? Well, the RAW-1 is a forensic tool. It takes an old, used-up typewriter or printer ribbon, that long piece of inked tape, and it can actually reconstruct entire documents just by reading the tiny, faint impressions the keys left behind. The way it works is just brilliantly simple. First, the machine's spool carefully shines a light on the ribbon. Then, a little video camera records the images of all those character impressions. That data gets zapped over to a personal computer, which processes everything, and then, like magic, it reconstructs the original document. Okay, and here is where our mystery really begins. When this machine was imported into the United States, customs officials basically hit a wall. How in the world do you classify one super complex machine that seems like it could fit into a bunch of different boxes? To solve this, they have to turn to this book, the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, or HTSUS for short. You can think of it like a massive encyclopedia for literally every object you can imagine, from paper clips all the way up to rocket engines. And finding the right category in this book is what decides how much tax, or tariff, you have to pay. So here's the problem in a nutshell. The RAW-1 has a video camera, it has computer, and it has a mechanical spool. So what is it? Is it a camera, a computer, something else completely? And each one of those classifications has a different tax rate, so you can see why getting it right is so important. So how do customs officials figure this out? Well, they basically become detectives. They don't just take a guess. They have to follow a very specific set of rules to uncover what they call the essential function, the true identity of the object. And their number one clue, the most important rule in their playbook, comes from something called General Rule of Interpretation 1, or GRI 1. It says the classification is determined by the terms of the headings. Put simply, you have to find the description in the rulebook that best fits what the item is and what it does. So this is the crucial question. What is the single most essential thing that the RAW-1 does? I mean, yeah, it has a camera that records things and a computer that computes, but those are just parts of a bigger process. Its unique individual function, its whole reason for existing, is to reconstruct documents. And this, right here, is the aha moment. The RAW-1's purpose is to perform the individual function of document reconstruction. And wouldn't you know it, in the rulebook, heading 8543 covers electrical machines and apparatus, having individual functions. It's a perfect match. See? It's not really a camera or a computer, it's a machine with its very own unique job. So, that's it, right? Case closed? Well, not so fast. Just when we thought we had it all figured out, the case takes a really unexpected turn. Because, of course, there's a twist. We've classified the hardware, right? The physical machine itself. But what about its brain? What do you do with the software that makes the whole thing work? And this is where it gets kind of wild. According to customs law, even though the software comes with the machine and is, absolutely essential for it to even work, it has to be classified completely separately. The hardware, the workstation, that falls under heading 8543. But the software, which back then came on floppy disks, is legally considered recorded media. So it gets its very own classification under a totally different heading, 8524. So now, with all the clues in place and all the evidence examined, we can finally reach the verdict. Case closed, for real this time. The result of all this detective work? This single number, 3.9%. That is the tariff, the direct consequence of that entire investigative process to classify the RAW-1 by its unique individual function. So let's just recap that final ruling. The hardware gets one classification. The software gets a completely separate one. What was brought into the country as a single functional system was legally broken down and treated as two totally distinct items for tax purposes. It's just a fascinating look at how the law deconstructs an object to figure it out. And that leaves us with one last thought.
The RAW-1 is obviously a very specialized piece of gear, but this exact same legal logic applies to everything that crosses a border, from the phone in your pocket to the car you drive. It kind of makes you wonder, right? What seemingly simple object that you own has the most surprising legal story hidden inside?